Well, hello everybody. Hopefully I got that right. Welcome to an edition of the CPU PowerShift to Freedom episode. And this is in regards to what's happening worldwide. I mean, there's so much going on. It's just unbelievable. And there's so much that can be said about that, but at the same time, it's you know, um maybe a wait and see game, in regards to what's happening in Israel and Palestine. But at the same time, there's still problems here at home that we also need to focus on. And unfortunately, things have been happening behind closed doors and behind the people's backs for eons here in Canada, and our rights have been stolen. So, and the same has happened to everybody in every country worldwide, technically through um, what I'll be telling you in regards to that. So, anyways, what I did is because um, I've got a lot to say. I decided to put it in writing, and this is I'll be reading this to you. So it says like everyone is screaming about who or ask how can we stop the insanity of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and our own WEF infiltrated governments to establish total control over humanity. What they have done and are and will keep doing to our countries and peoples is completely insane. For one, the politicians in parliament, legislatures, city councilors, and our rogue justices are the ones responsible for our downfall through their harmful decision making authority. They are the ones taking away our rights continuously, and it's illegal, people. Okay. So our politicians could end this today if they wanted to, but they won't because, or they won't since they have been at it for eons through self authoritarianism, sorry, by using double speak. So double speak is, what they say and what they do are two separate things. So due to outside corporate interference and pressure, they become willfully deceptive, and none has the guts to truly take a stand to protect Canadians. They make believe that they will save us election after election, when all along they are wolves in sheep's clothing. No political party will save us, certainly not in Canada. Only we, the people, together can do that. Everybody's waiting for a savior. And they think that the next one standing, pretending to be in the people's favor to get elected, will save them, only to find out a year later that that's not true. So, how easily we, the people, forget. Well, it's time for you to stop forgetting and for you to start acting. Um, so, you know, um, so they won't save us. So only we can do that. Okay. And that's what we need to understand is that we have rights and we are to instill these rights. So the WEF is not the most dangerous organization on this planet. Our politicians are. It's our politicians at the end of the day that vote, that make the decisions. So, and this is done through representative democracy, which takes away our political democratic rights to having a say in each item that they have on the dockets in Canada. So we have a political right to everything. However, in Canada, we were never allowed to have an escape clause in there in case the government goes rogue. So we don't have any insurances in our charter or in the Constitution to give the people the power to do what we want. A lot of people have different ideas of what can be done to save this country, but you have no legal right to do so. So, and this is what people need to understand is you can demand, common law and natural rights and all this, but they're already embedded. So in order to understand that, you'd have to know the history. So I'm just going to continue with this. So at the moment, while we watch in sadness, hang on here. I'm skipping ahead of myself. So coming back to the WEF saying it's not the most dangerous. It is our politicians. Now, through representative democracy, it only allows us to vote again for those every 4 years. So when it comes to the day that we're going to stand up and enforce our rights, we will never be able to change this under Elections Canada. So we need to be able to do something that will give us our rights. And right now in Canada, the politicians do not honor our universal human rights. They do not honor our charter rights. They do not honor anything else. And that's criminal even at the international level. Okay, so this is the only ones who can kind of penalize them, because we have no rights to do it, is the international level. Okay, so this is what we've been working on to be able to bring forward to make sure that Canada does comply, that our governments do comply. But at the same time, our parliamentarians in government are not complying. And while all this is happening with Israel and Palestine, they're still moving forward in destroying this country. And now, with all the chaos in the streets of Canada, it's going to get even worse. So at the moment, while we watch in sadness at what is happening in Israel and Palestine, divisions are growing and sadly infesting our countries with hate through propaganda and differences of opinions, without even knowing the past between Israel and Palestine and what the root cause of the problem is. So if people were educated in this, then you'd have a right to speak up. But right now, do you really know the story behind this? So far, neither side is, as far as I'm concerned, neither side is right in performing the atrocities both have done. Both, to me, need to stop, okay, and in their tracks, because you can't punish a people for the actions of another and destroy them completely and obliterate them, okay, and vice versa. So we can't blame the peoples, but the government's behind them, okay, or doing this without even the people's consent to begin with. So when we look at the past, we can clearly see why this war is happening. Just like with the Indigenous nations here, one has taken away from another until there is so much anger that common sense no longer prevails, other than utter hate within all levels of their societies. Now, one must look at the root cause when two peoples used to live side by side in harmony and then get torn apart from all sides. And this is what happened over there. So when we may not be able to fix what is happening in Israel and Palestine now, other than demand ceasefires, but what we can fix is to stand in unity and not apart to end it until an agreement can be found. So both sides need to agree that, hey, this is completely wrong on both sides. So let's stand together and stop this insanity so we can work things through. And there's a solution to that. So, so while, they find an agreement, and unfortunately, while this issue plays out at keeping us busy in fighting and destroying our own harmony in all of our own countries, they're causing us to have civil wars in almost every nation who's got something to say about this. So, again, this is seen in Canada today. So what are we supposed to do here? So the interference of implanted young global leaders inside our governments by the WEF, the World Economic Forum, are busy destroying our own countries from within. So while we're busy, they're at it continuously, okay? So they're always going to come up with something to keep us too busy to focus on the real things that keep us divided. Okay. And that's uniting on the same goals and having our rights recognized. So so I blame all the governments for feeding hatred, separation, tearing families and countries apart. I mean, you have to look at the root cause here. It's them. So why are we are all human beings, first and foremost. Our governments are also trying to destroy that through other measures, such as transhumanism. So bad enough they're trying to destroy us left, right, and center. They're trying to even destroy humans found in nature, which is us. They're trying to destroy our humanity. So when will we awaken to the truth? When will we see each other as simple human beings being used by others like puppets on a string? So they puppeteer our governments, okay? And then the governments puppeteer us. And most of us are dancing to their tunes. Okay, follow the piper. So again, we need to stop and think and watch from all sides what's going on, be very aware, and remind ourselves of why we're all here. We all want to save our country. We all want to live in harmony. We all want to have food safety. We can't even trust the foods we eat anymore because of our governments. We don't even know what's in the air. What are they putting in the air? Everything that they're doing is just a strong, it's so huge. It's unbelievable. And it's hard to keep up. But somebody has to keep up. And, we're trying as best as we can, but it's hard. But at the same time, a lot of people will say, oh, no, that can't be. That can't be. Oh, no, that can't be. And even when you show them the truth, they still don't believe it. Well, at least believe in one thing: the future of your children, your family in this country, in prosperity with everybody. That we can all agree on. This is what we want. And it can be done. So, therefore, and here I come back to saying, therefore, we can depend on ourselves to affect positive change. And that will never change. It will be us that will make the change. And it takes everybody. So we as Canadians and peoples worldwide must intervene in protecting our countries, our economies, but also our way of life, our families, and especially protect our children and elders. Our only hope and answer to a sound solution for Israel and Palestine and for all countries, peoples, is to enforce our right above governance, to instill national self-determination in an equal partnership in governance and prosperity here in Canada with the Indigenous nations. So if we do this in Canada with the Indigenous nations, we're all equal partners on each side, and come to some agreement, and everybody benefits, not one more than the other, then I think we can achieve something huge that's never been done on this planet, except for, actually never. So, mind you, the Six Nations, the Haudenosaunee, did have that with it amongst themselves. And so they had harmony amongst other nations with them that practiced the great law. And once you hear the story, then you see, yes, there is potential there. It's worth trying. It's worth fighting amongst all nations and everybody, because we're all human beings first and foremost. Never mind the rest. We can work out the rest. But right now, we need to help each other as human beings without stamps on our foreheads, separating our identities and whatnot. But what we can do after that is embrace all the differences amongst us, amongst ourselves, and look at the cultures and take what's good, and we can leave some of the bad stuff out, from the past, and all live for the same goal, which is prosperity for everybody. So, the peoples from every country can do this with us. They can do this on their side. We do it here. Um, so if the countries were truly ruled by the peoples and not by imposters like the WEF, global young leaders, that were sent to us by the WEF to infiltrate our governments and to manipulate all of our laws, our policies, you know, because as long as we don't take them out, they're going to be turning our countries inside out, upside down and inside out. So we need to look at every government and who's who here and where's it coming from? How are they doing this? And how can we stop them? Well, again, the only way feasible to stop them would be for all the politicians to finally take a stand and protect their own country instead of being sellouts to the WEF, to the World Economic Forum. These people have been brainwashed. And now they're trying to brainwash everybody else through, oh, we're going to send you for re-education. That is brainwashing. Re-education is brainwashing. Okay. And they don't have the right to do that. So we all have the same rights to national self-determination through our civil and political rights worldwide. We can support each of our countries in collectively enforcing referendums as many times as we collectively want in each of our countries. And referendums mean that we decide before, let's say the government wants to make a law, then they have to go to the justices. The justices have to see if, or the Minister of Justice, and the justices, and the lawyers are the protectors of the law, of the rule of law. And if they're not doing their jobs and selling us out, well, they all need to be fired. So they're supposed to be looking at the laws to make sure that it doesn't interfere in our rights. And if it does, it's unconstitutional. Why? Because our rights to national self-determination, okay, and all of our human rights at the international level, and all of the rights that Canada has signed, all of the agreements Canada and the UK have signed, are automatically embedded into our Constitution. Even though they're not written specifically in it, they are embedded into it through those actions. And it's time that the Canadian lawyers wake the hell up. Many of the Canadian lawyers understand that, yes, and we have those rights, but they're not being listened to. And then most of the lawyers say, oh, well, Canada doesn't recognize international law. Well, that's BS. Start using it in court and you'll see a difference in your court cases. I'm not a lawyer, but I am practicing my civil and political rights to self-determination and to be able to communicate with all other Canadian citizens, the Indigenous nations, and everybody worldwide in regards to our rights. So I can speak about the law. I can give my opinions about the law. There's nothing illegal in that. But as long as I'm practicing my civil and political rights with everybody, every time I open my mouth, every time you see me online, that is the guarantee that you have. When you're being confronted by a police officer, you need to mention that. Okay? So while we're practicing our civil and political rights to our right to national self-determination, okay, that means everybody in the country gets to vote yes or no on an issue. We haven't had that in Canada, okay, the proper way to accept our Constitution. Because if we had, we could have implemented changes in that Constitution to guarantee us rights against a rogue government the way we're seeing it now. We could get rid of politicians properly and legally. But we can't do that right now. You can't just turn around and do what you want here in Canada because, oh, I'm going to practice my natural rights, or, oh, I'm going to practice, pseudo common law. No, they won't stand up. You have no rights to be able to do that. Because in society, we have to have rules. So anybody that says otherwise is misleading you. This can be done after we take our rights. Then the Canadian citizens can decide what is best for this country together. But you can't put the cart before the horse. So, anyways, enforcing our right to national collective self-determination is our prerogative. We, the people, hold the political power and final decision-making authority. The Canadian government has stolen from us and every other government in all of the other countries practicing representative democracy, and even what's the other one? I'm trying to think of the name. Where you have 3 or 4 parties to govern. Again, when you give away your power, your political power, to the politicians without having made any concessions, guarantees, then they get to rule over you and they can do whatever they want legally. So we have to be aware of our rights. And this is by joining forces and to be able to teach that to everybody ASAP. And, the thing is when you're alone in front of a police officer or in court or whatever, well, you're by yourself. Under national self-determination, it's all of the people's. We decide together, okay, what's going to be. So we need to be above government with full veto power over our government. And that's how it's supposed to be since 1960. And that was stolen from us, okay? So this is the mandate of the Canadian People's Union, okay, to place Canadians and Indigenous peoples of Canada as being both the true shareholders of the Crown of Canada above government with veto power over government, okay? That's our mandate. It'll never change. We're not here to stop 15-minute cities and all of these things. We'd like to, but we don't have time to stop and do this and to be sidetracked by everything they're throwing at us, because the bottom line is the only thing that we can do that'll stop everything is to go ahead with what we are doing, the national or collective rights to self-determination nationally, okay? So if you see yourself in a country that everyone works, if you see yourself, just imagine, you see yourself living in a country where everyone works to help each other, to prosper in a harmonious coexistence, where we could protect all of our food safety, environment, and learn about our cultures, and appreciate everybody, then please join the Canadian People's Union, because that's our vision. That's our mandate, so that we can end up with, to make sure that our children have a good future and that nothing like this ever happens again, and to give them the tools to be able to make sure that that never happens to them either. So please, join the Canadian People's Union, become a member of the CPU, and sign your Citizens Convention of Consent. And if you don't want to become a member of the CPU, then just sign your Citizens Convention of Consent. That this is what we need to prove at the international level, where we can stop Trudeau and everybody else from overtaking our country in the West. So please, the Convention of Consent is our right to national self-determination, which we call collective self-determination, okay? It's our collective. And that's our right, our international law right, which we have to take at the international, so that that is recognized, because our governments won't. So please, make sure that you sign that convention. And if you've already signed it, that's good. This is a living document that we can change the words here and there depending on the situation that develops, if we need to insert something else. But basically, it's what it says is to that you agree with every other citizen in Canada, person in Canada, that you want to exercise this right. So first, they need to know that you want this right, before, we can't just take raise your hands. No, we need to be able to have it on paper. And then what we do is we've made sure that everything was kept confidential. So when you click on sign your convention, you will be led to PDF filer, where they are guaranteed that everything is confidential. And once we take that to the international, then it issues a list of numbers instead of your name and your information. Everything is legally protected so that we can ensure that. So, please, again, it's very important to sign that Citizens Convention of Consent for Canadian citizens and even the Indigenous nations. And 15 children, 15 years and older, everybody can sign that as well. It's free. Okay. The membership to the CPU is not free, but the membership, the signature for the Convention of Consent is free for everybody. So nobody has an excuse not to sign it. So, if you want a good life and a future, please, again, sign your Citizens Convention of Consent, become a member of the CPU, and get the benefits of what happens, the information that we're bringing to you in knowing your rights and everything else. We have a brand new community section that we've developed. There's going to be little courses in there, all kinds of things. But again, it's going to be based on the root cause. We're not wasting our time on other issues that do not stop the government from the WEF and the world governance that's trying to instill itself. So there's a lot of things that people don't know, even in regards to CBDC. They're trying to push that, but a lot of countries don't want it. A lot of countries don't like what's happening. Other countries now are finally getting together in regards to what's happening worldwide. And this is where we can support each other, because it's countries that will bring about votes at the UN. And that's where real changes can happen for the benefit of everybody if we all stick together. So again, please go to the PowerShift.ca, which will revert to the CPU.ca. So either one, the PowerShift.ca, CPU.ca, will bring you right to us. And this is where we can start looking forward to a much better future and make sure that we have, we can turn taxation into dividends afterwards, make sure that everybody benefits. And by having a partnership between us and the Indigenous nations and, prosper equally and finally have the conversations on an equal basis as regard within the two-row wampum and the Silver Covenant chain, maybe Canada can become the Canada it's supposed to be, the Canada we all envisioned, and, a good place for our children. And that's what matters. So again, the CPU.ca, the PowerShift.ca will get you to us, and you can read all about our information there. And please look at the information booklets that we have, that Genevieve and Richard have posted for us and created, so that you can have a simpler time understanding what we do. So thank you again. Have a great weekend. I know with everything that's happening around us, it's not easy to have a great weekend, but at the same time, keep that vision in mind of having the country you want. And only by taking action can we get that. Thank you. Bye-bye.